Right now on Upfront.
New map showdown.
We are not gaming the system.
Well, the maps that are in place are the maps that are in place.
The push to redraw Wisconsin's congressional maps ahead of the midterms goes to court with new political backing.
I think the maps should have long been redrawn.
Now the intense debate nationwide, the battle to control Congress, and debate playing out right here. With us this Sunday, Law Forward co-founder Jeff Mandel and the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty's Lucas Weber.
The next candidate.
And it would be my honor to be your governor.
Former Department of Administration Secretary Joel Brennan launching his Democratic bid for governor, joining a growing field, and now he's joining us.
And just hours away,
we have that serious responsibility here.
The start of the high-profile trial of Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan. The key video and audio will walk you through it, and retired District Judge Nancy Gertner all ahead of the trial starting Monday morning.
This is Upfront with Jaron Jordan and political director Matt Smith.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. A lot to get to this Sunday, including the newest candidate in the race for governor, plus the high-profile trial of Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan starting tomorrow.
But first, the redistricting battle intensifying ahead of the midterms. The immense pressure on states like Indiana this past week. Now in Wisconsin, the courts weighing in. The liberal majority on the state Supreme Court assigning two separate three-judge panels to hear two lawsuits attempting to redraw Wisconsin's congressional maps. Scheduling hearings happening Friday, and the two different lawsuits on slightly different timelines. The delegation currently made up of 6 Republicans and 2 Democrats. We've got both sides today. We begin with Jeff Mandel, the co-founder of Law Forward, which has filed one of the lawsuits and is taking the slower approach. Jeff, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Big picture here. Is the ultimate goal, Jeff, to have Wisconsin's congressional maps redrawn ahead of the midterms next year?
Well, the ultimate goal is to have fair maps here in Wisconsin. And we do believe that voters are disenfranchised every time that we go to the polls without those fair maps. But I don't know that it's really realistic at this point to have those for the 2026 elections. And the goal is not any specific election. The goal is fair maps that treat all Wisconsinites well and make sure that everyone's vote counts and matters.
So big picture, you're more realistically thinking 28.
I think that's correct.
We know the maps have been challenged before and they failed. The appointment of a 3-judge panel is unprecedented. Are you confident that this panel can legally overrule earlier decisions by the courts on these maps?
Well, our case is completely new. It is true that in the past there have been rulings on the congressional maps, but no one has considered the anti-competitive gerrymandering case that we are bringing. And we do believe the courts can consider that and that the courts can rule.
Are you happy with the 3 judges who've been selected? Conservatives say they're too liberal.
I don't actually know any of these judges. I've never appeared before any of them before, but we are happy to have a 3-judge panel and be able to try our case, and we look forward to it.
Jeff, as you know, across the country, redistricting has kind of taken on a life of its own ahead of the midterms, whether you look at states like Texas, California, Indiana, Florida. To critics who say, how is this any different than Republicans, that both sides see this as blatant politics, just looking to get the upper edge and the control of Congress?
Well, I think it's radically different. What we've seen around the country from both Democrats and Republicans is an effort to change the maps purely for partisan gain and to game the system. That is different from what our lawsuit here in Wisconsin is doing, which is a nonpartisan lawsuit, right, about anti-competitive gerrymander that has been entered and is just trying to make sure that the Wisconsin Constitution and the rights of voters are vindicated. So we're not completely focused on any particular election or date. We are not gaming the system to try to advantage one partisan interest over another. We're trying to help voters.
What do you say to critics who say that's just completely not true? Every attempt in this mid-cycle is politics at play.
Well, our attempt isn't pegged to the mid-cycle. So that's kind of, you can only challenge the maps after they exist. So you can't bring a challenge like this before there are maps. And so we don't think that there's anything nefarious or improper going on here. And as I said, we're completely completely different from the efforts we're seeing in other states to cram through maps and squeeze out every possible partisan advantage before the 2026 midterms.
There are lots of complexities with these cases. In its simplest form, can you break down what your argument is before the court?
Absolutely. Our argument is that to protect the right to vote in Wisconsin, when voters go to vote, those votes should matter. And in Wisconsin, what we have are congressional districts that were deliberately drawn so that most people's votes don't really matter. We only have one competitive district here in the state of Wisconsin on a consistent basis. That's the 3rd district on the west side of the state. And we believe that the maps need to be redrawn so that people's votes matter.
Jeff Mendel, the co-founder of Law Forward, thank you so much for being here and for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
The Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty is fighting the lawsuits, filing motions to intervene in the case. Lucas Weber is Will's deputy counsel. He joins us now. Lucas, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Good. Thanks for having me.
So we just heard Jeff Mendel saying they're looking a little more long-term, potentially 2028. We've heard others say, listen, we want to get these ahead, these changes in place ahead of the midterms. Is your main goal, first and foremost, to stop this ahead of the midterms next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in terms of the timeline, the court will let it play out as the court wants to play out. I think the most important thing is that these legal claims be addressed fully, and whatever timeline we need to do that is what we're aiming for.
How do you argue that the congressional maps are fair right now when races in Wisconsin generally are 50-50, yet the congressional makeup of the delegation is 75% Republican?
Yeah, so the maps that are in Wisconsin were adopted by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Those are maps that were drawn by Governor Tony Evers. The maps are what they are, and elections matter, candidates matter, issues matter. I think what these cases that are being brought seek to do is assign every person in Wisconsin either one political party or the other and assume that they're always going to vote that way going forward in perpetuity. We know that's simply not how it is.
And critics argue, though, that the maps don't show the accurate representation of the breakdown of Wisconsin's constituents.
Yeah, so the maps that are in place right now were drawn based on the 2011 maps, which were drawn by the Wisconsin legislature. Those maps were challenged in federal court. That federal court noted at the time that they were done with bipartisan input. So the maps that are in place are the maps that are in place. If anybody wants to change those maps, there's a way to do that. You can go through the legislative process, as we've seen in other states, going to the courts to make new law and essentially try to add provisions that have never before been recognized in the Wisconsin Constitution is not the right way.
Is this 3-court panel foreign territory, so to speak, just in terms of how you make these arguments?
Yeah, so this is never, a 3-judge panel like this has never actually heard one of these cases in Wisconsin. It's a relatively new law within the last couple decades. So yeah, it is. This is something that was put in place to hear apportionment challenges, which would be challenges to maps the legislature makes. The maps that are being challenged here were imposed by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So what they're effectively asking is for lower court judges on our hierarchy of the courts to overturn the Wisconsin Supreme Court, which, as we've said in our pleadings, they can't do.
Redistricting has become an incredibly hot topic ahead of the midterms. You look at states like Texas, you look on the pressure just on Indiana this past week. What do you make of what those states are doing in terms of redistrict themselves?
Yeah, so in the other states that are doing this, whether you like it or not, those are legislatively driven efforts. Elected officials in the state legislatures are choosing to do what they want to do. That's what the U.S. Constitution says. The U.S. Constitution vests that power in state legislatures. Here in Wisconsin, they're just going to the courts. They're trying to evade the legislature. In one of the cases, they're actually opposing the legislature's intervention in the lawsuit even. So it's an entirely different situation what's going on here in Wisconsin.
It seems like both sides are somewhat arguing Wisconsin is unique from what we're seeing in all the other states.
It is, yeah. I think, these efforts sort of predate what's happening in those other states. We first saw, these maps were first adopted in 2023. We saw the first attempt to throw them out in 2024. A few more attempts this year. These new suits represent, I think, the 4th and 5th attempts to throw these maps out. This has been a drumbeat that's been going on for some time.
One of the lawsuits, Law Forward, they're arguing, well, this is a new argument, so the court should be able to hear that. Is that one of your biggest challenges to argue against?
I think they're trying to frame it as a new argument, but I think it's what they've done is essentially just repackage a partisan gerrymander argument, which has been explicitly rejected by our Supreme Court and the United States Supreme Court.
Will's deputy counsel, Lucas Weber. Lucas, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Up next, another candidate entering the race for governor. Democrat Joel Brennan is standing by next.